Welcome back, guys. This is Gaming with Alston, and today we are on what I have. If you really want to be strong, you have to train to the point of getting drenched. Or until you start throwing up. Sometimes I feel nauseous when I exercise, and that's okay. Anyways, let's get started. By cleaning up this mess. And on my road to recovery from anorexia, as part of my recovery program, I started increasing the weight on my dumbbells so I could get stronger. Because lifting 20 pounds is simply not enough for me. I get that increasing your reps your training volume can help you build more muscle, but increasing the weight speeds up the process. It does it much faster. Doing sit-ups by themselves, like without any weights, will not do you much in the long term. You gotta add weights eventually. If you want six-pack abs. Or parallel line abs. The goal for me is to train really hard. You have to keep, and if you want to be strong, you have to keep training. Hey, Mom. Okay. Okay, Mom. Okay. Anyways, back to game. I had another shirt to try on. Scheisse. Bills need paid. Messaging a friend. Back to game. With my training regimen, I have to admit it's really intense, and that's okay. I'm using my training regimen to gain some muscle mass. Logan's hungry, right? No. If you want to fight the obesity epidemic, it takes more than just diet and exercise. It requires more than just diet and exercise. We have to ditch pesticides. He's tired. Now, I'm gonna have Christina change Logan's diaper. Even if... Toddler care. Change diaper. And for me, when I train, percusizing is nothing. Tony Perkis. I'm using it to refer to Perkis's method of exercise from heavyweights. My regimen is really intense. Like, you have to train really hard. You have to keep training if you really want to be strong. When I started my training regimen, I didn't start off doing 100 push-ups. No, I started off with 25. Like, I'm talking, doing my commentary for my gaming video, that's all. The Sims might have some bugs that they can that they should repair some bugs in which the Sim refuses to do what you have the Sim do. started training, I was a little pudgy. But around my lower midsection, mostly around my hips. I was doing it to start gaining muscle mass. Let's have Ricky repair. If you really want to be strong, you have to keep training. Almost every single day. I used to be a sedentary person. I used to be pretty sedentary. Let's feed. Let's feed to the baby. And if you really want to be strong, you have to keep training. Diabetes can happen if you don't brush your teeth, too. It's not just being overweight that can put you at risk for type 2 diabetes. Being overweight or obese can be like the lottery. It's kind of like the biological lottery. There's a chance you'll do just fine as an overweight person. There's a chance you'll suffer health problems. It's like a 50-50 chance. It's like a 50-50 chance. If you really want to be strong, you have to keep training really hard. No matter how difficult it gets. Even if my arms start... And sometimes And sometimes I'd talk about my eating disorder too. I'm not just using my training regimen. I'm not just doing it to lose. I used to be really heavy. And I went from being overweight to being skinny fat. Meaning high fat percentage for a normal, like at a normal weight. Even though I had a normal BMI, my fat percentage was kind of high. Even though I was at a healthy weight. That's also known as aka skinny fat. And sometimes, what we need to do to help fight anorexia is we need to educate people about the dangers of the harm anorexia nervosa does to you in physical education. We need to educate people in PE about the harm anorexia nervosa does to your body. As I'm a recovering anorexic. When I was overweight, exercise was a struggle for me. Because the visceral fat was putting strain on my diaphragm. And visceral fat does the most harm. Not all overweight people have the same risk for heart disease. If we want to fight anorexia collectively, like for a lot of people, what we have to do is we need to improve our physical education programs in middle and high school, because you know teenagers are at the greatest risk of anorexia. I'm not the only one to suffer from anorexia. My mom started suffering anorexia before. My mom had to go through the same thing, but hers was a little more severe. Hers was a little more severe. But for me, mine was early on. I was able to fight with the help of my mom. I started recovering with the help of my mom and my friend. sometimes I talk about... I know some people are kind of sensitive about their eating disorder. I'm pretty open about it. Because my goal is to raise awareness about the eating disorder. To make sure no one has to go through what I had to go through. Like, as an anorexic, I was preoccupied with food. I had to deal with being preoccupied with food. I'm not the only one who had to go through this. I'm not the only one that had to go through this. Some of the most famous competitive eaters had to deal with anorexia too. Some of the most famous competitive eaters were anorexic at some point in their life. Some of them were anorexic at some point in their life, like Furious Pete. And Eric the Electric. Now I'm using my physical training to help me recover from anorexia. As part of my road to recovery from anorexia. Hoping I don't relapse. Let's just hope I don't relapse. Because that'd be terrible. Just like what happens when people relapse from cancer. People who relapse from anorexia end up having an even worse case of it. Which is pretty sad, ironically enough. What I'm doing now, to fight my anorexia, is I'm pumping a bit of iron. Sometimes you just gotta pump some iron. If you want to fight anorexia. If you want to fight anorexia, sometimes you just gotta pump some iron if you want to fight anorexia. I know this is a very serious problem. The number of people with anorexia at any given moment is growing. This is pretty sad. Let me tell you, I'm not the only one that had to go through this. There are people out there who have it even worse. In fact, sadly enough, there are some people who have died, who succumbed to anorexia. I know this is sad. But this is a very serious problem. The problem is expected to grow. What we need to do is we need to educate people about the harm in PE, in middle and high school, about the harm anorexia does to your body. if you want to... It takes more than just education. My goal is to help people who are struggling with eating disorders. They're struggling from obesity-related problems, like related to central obesity. Now I'm using my training program to help me help fight my anorexia. Because you know, muscle weighs more than fat. Sometimes, I know some people don't want to talk about the eating disorder in their videos. But this is a very serious problem. It's a growing problem in America. If we do nothing about it, more and more people are going to die young from the eating disorder. I don't want that to happen. The leading cause of death in those with anorexia is heart failure. And possibly even liver failure. Anorexia is no joke. It's a serious problem. The best way to fight obesity is to let the overweight person do it on their own. Just let them do it on their own. Just let them do it on their own. I was able to, just like how I was able to fight obesity on my own. It's easier to fight obesity when you fight it on your own. And sometimes I talk about my diabetes and my back problems were worse than my self-esteem. When I was overweight, even though I was overweight, my self-esteem was pretty decent. Yet my back problems and diabetes were the main problems. People were pretty accepting of me. Now my health, I was able to beat diabetes. Fortunately enough, I was able to fight off diabetes on my own. Simply by using medication and a little bit of exercise. Now I'm using my exercise regimen to help me gain muscle mass. I was able to fit in with my friends. I was able to fit in with my friends despite my massive bulk. I lost weight not due to self-esteem issues, but due to back problems I had. But if most of your, if all the weight is spread out, it'd be a different story. Because your back wouldn't have to do all the work, carrying that massive load. An example of such is sumo wrestlers. I'm like, my goal now is to gain a bit of muscle mass. Crap. Gotta feed Susan. There are some medical conditions that can cause obesity too. An example of such is hypothyroidism. Another one is Prader-Willi syndrome. In fact, I was checked for Prader-Willi syndrome, unfortunately. And the good news is I don't have Prader-Willi syndrome. If I have Prader-Willi syndrome, all my food would probably be kept under lock and key. All my food would be kept under lock and key. If I had Prader-Willi syndrome. All my food would be kept under lock and key if I had Prader-Willi syndrome. Just like the case of Connor Hayback. Just like the case of Connor Hayback. From Mystery Diagnosis. His insatiable appetite was brought on by Prader-Willi syndrome. Scheiße. Now I don't have to worry about having trouble breathing while exercising anymore, because I don't have that visceral fat anymore, obstructing my diaphragm. I wasn't always this skinny. It's not just poor diet and lack of exercise that's driving the obesity crisis. It's not just poor diet and sedentary lifestyles. It's more than just that. What you're eating affects your body composition more than it does your overall weight. What you eat affects your body composition more than it does your weight. have to worry about breathing problems, as I don't have to worry about the visceral fat. Like, the cause of breathing problems while exercising and obesity is due to the visceral fat obstructing your diaphragm. It's actually due to the visceral fat obstructing the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a muscle that helps you breathe. It's a somewhat voluntary muscle. But at the same time, it's involuntary at the same time. And the diaphragm. Birthday cake. Vicky. Let's use gourmet cooking level. Gourmet cooking. She has a heist. No. We should go towards in Logan's Hungary. The real factor behind why overweight people run out of breath easily when they exercise, a lot of it has to do with visceral fat. Not all overweight people run out of breath when they exercise. Because some overweight people have almost no visceral fat whatsoever. When I started training, like, the visceral fat is a bigger problem compared to the subcutaneous fat, which explains how sumo wrestlers stay so healthy and can manage to exercise for long periods of time under their massive bulk. That's how they can manage to exercise for long periods under their massive bulk. A lot of it's due to the fact that they have almost no visceral fat whatsoever obstructing their diaphragm. It's not a matter of how much fat you have, it's a matter of where your body is storing the fat. It's a matter of where. Because if your body stores most of it in the abdominal cavity, you could risk health problems. But if almost all your fat's stored just beneath your skin, you should be fine. You should be healthy. You know, it's not about how much fat you have, it's where your body is storing it. This is why I support the fat acceptance movement. Because the truth is, it's not about how much fat you have, it's a matter of where. It's a matter of where. The best way to lose weight is to do it on your own. Don't force others to lose weight. Just let them do it on their own. For best results. Because sometimes being fat can be healthy. I'm not trying to offend any of you people that are overweight out there. I'm not trying to offend you. And to prove that it's possible to be overweight, to have a lot of body fat and be healthy at the same time, there are sumo wrestlers. There are strongmen too. There are some strongmen as well. They have a bit of body fat, and that's okay. Most of it is probably subcutaneous fat. And that subcutaneous fat is sometimes called stubborn fat because it can potentially ruin the physique of bodybuilders. Plus, in nature, you kind of need that stubborn fat. By nature, you kind of need that. By nature. You kind of need it. You kind of need that stubborn fat if you want to be healthy. You kind of need it to be healthy. That stubborn fat you have, you kind of need it. You kind of need it. Because it's kind of like muscle lube. It's kind of like lubrication for your muscles. Kind of like how motor oil is like lube for your car. Anyways, this should be it for this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you like this video. Dislike if you disliked it. Subscribe for more. Don't forget to share this with your friends on social media. And as always, thank you for watching, stay tuned for more, and peace out.